You are entering the bonus stage, a podcast produced in association with oceanofbees.com, with your host Marauder
and Phoenix923,
a podcast for all gamers,
console and PC alike.
Welcome to Bonus Stage.
Greetings and welcome to Bonus Stage, a podcast produced in association with oceanofbees.com. As always, I am your host Marauder.
And I'm Phoenix923.
You sure are. And this is episode 34. We're recording this on January 18th of 2015. So, yeah, we kind of skipped doing a second Christmas episode in favor of doing a New Year's episode.
Yep.
But this episode we're going to discuss essentially two different things. One is the new Nintendo 3DS. And that's not like a new one, that's literally the name. We'll get to that. And the other thing is we're going to list off the top 5 games of the year. Obviously, these are our opinions, not fact. And I don't own every system under the sun, so I'm sorry, there's not going to be any PS4 games on here.
Or Xbox One games.
Or Xbox One games. Not that there would be, because the library right now is kind of lackluster. Although, every console goes through growing pains, I suppose, when they first come out, so it's not really a big deal. Anyway, alright, so, getting right down to it, let's talk about Nintendo announcing the release date for the new Nintendo 3DS, which comes out the 13th, is it? February?
It comes out the same day as Majora's Mask. I don't remember.
I want to say it's the 12th, but I'm not sure. Oh, save me, Google.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 13th.
Yeah. By the way, did you see that really awesome Majora's Mask 3DS Special Edition?
Yeah.
Yeah, that got scalped real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, release date 2/13/2015. So middle of February next month. There's going to be a new 3DS and a new Zelda game. So that's cool.
Oh, quote-unquote new.
Or a remaster of an N64 game. But whatever, I've never played it, so it'll be new to me. And I've already pre-ordered it, so that's awesome.
My opinion is, it is better than Ocarina of Time.
And I will second that as soon as I play it and figure it out for myself. Because I don't follow the herd, damn it.
Well, I'll just say learning the whole time mechanic took me a bit. I mean, honestly, I hated the game just because I didn't get it. But then once I figured it out and how I can get it going, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is fine. This is awesome, actually.
How to manipulate it. And
well, it was just, I was always sitting here like, there's just not enough time. Why do I lose everything when I go back? Why do, it's just a bunch of little piddly things that, I couldn't figure out as a kid. But
right.
Then when I replayed it again later, I was just like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, the new Nintendo 3DS coming out the 13th of February. Yay? I'm definitely getting one. But
hooray, another iteration of the same console. Well, actually, it's different this time, because they actually did update it.
Yeah. Just to recap, the new Nintendo 3DS... I hate this name.
They haven't been good at naming lately.
No. The new Nintendo 3DS has the following advantages over the original. It's essentially the same size as the original. So if you have an XL, look at it and think really, really hard. Think that it's a new Nintendo 3DS, and you basically got the idea. The additions are that the 3D is a lot better. It actually includes some sort of like camera face tracking.
It uses like an RF type beam. Like if you look next to the camera, there's another little lens there.
Oh yeah.
And it like shoots out an RF beam to light your face, and then the camera can actually track that even, in darkness as well. And I've looked at a couple of overviews since it's already out in Australia, and the Ambassador Edition is out in Europe. And people have said that it works really well, that it actually tracks really nicely, and if you would notice anything, it would only be like a split-second difference in terms of it switching to where your head is to where it was.
Well, anything would be an improvement over.
Oh yeah, no, anything would be an improvement over holding it at a specific distance and holding it at a specific angle and keeping your head there for the entirety of the time you're playing.
Right. Another advantage is that it has 2 extra shoulder buttons, a ZR and ZL, but they're all in a line. I don't really know how comfortable that's going to be, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've been kind of holding my XL, just going like this, and I'm like, that doesn't really do it because I'm actually kind of unintentionally tapping the inner button, the inner shoulder button as well, whenever I like pretend to tap a little further in, and I don't know, I'll just have to see when I actually get it in my hands.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a bit of a learning curve, but it won't be too bad.
Yeah.
At least I don't think so. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The other advantage is it has an extra joystick, or an extra...
They
call it the C-stick, which is just like this little nub.
Yeah, it's basically like on those old laptop nubs in the middle of the keyboard that you would use for the mouse control instead of, a trackpad or something like that.
Supposedly, people say it's really sensitive, really accurate, but it does take some time to get used to it. And the other advantage, and this is something I learned recently that I like, is it registers that extra joystick and those 2 extra buttons as a Circle Pad Pro.
Yep.
So if you have any games that are Circle Pad Pro compatible,
all 4 of them.
All 4 of them, rather than having to slap on that ridiculous accessory, you can just put the game in and play the game. I know Monster Hunter 3 uses it. Monster Hunter 4 is going to use it.
Resident Evil Revelations
uses it.
Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Yep, Kingdom Hearts uses it.
Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus kind of uses it.
I don't know. I haven't played it with the C-stick.
It's not what you think.
Yeah.
but I mean, it does register it, so that's something.
So and 4 games.
There's a couple downloadable games on the shop that also use it, but not too many. And I think this might help actually get developers to utilize it more.
Yeah, since now it's actually built into the system instead of being an optional accessory.
Even if they just make it like just for the C-stick, like not even the 2 extra buttons, but just like the camera stick.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do that, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. And yeah, basically overall... Oh, and it has... this is kind of a moot point, but it's got removable faceplates.
Well... Thing is that the removable faceplates are only on the smaller versions, not on the XL versions.
Oh, not on the XL version?
Not on the XL version, no.
No kidding.
No. Trust me, I was like watching videos of this like over the last couple of weeks when I'm just sitting here like, I wonder how it all is, and the crappy thing is, America's only getting the XL version.
Yeah. Okay, so overall it's a... Oh, and it has a faster processor, so...
Yeah, and it has a faster processor.
A new library of games that are improved because of the faster processor.
And it downloads faster.
It's overall a lot snappier.
It's got a faster download in terms of downloading games or accessing the browser. Like, I watched Blunty's...
Or starting a game, even.
Yeah, I've watched Blunty's video he did the side-by-side comparison of him just scrolling through a page on both systems. And yeah, there was none of that checkerboard that appears on this system in terms of loading the web page. So, yeah, no. It's more it's more competent.
It's a noticeable improvement.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's a gigantic leap, but if you want to play the newer games that are coming out, you're going to have to get one of these. Now, down to some of the negative things, and there's really only 3 that I know of. One is that America's only getting the XL version, which I'm personally not too much, I'm not disappointed about it because I was going to get the XL version anyway.
Same here.
But for the people who liked the smaller form factor, that's a bit of a bummer.
Well, yeah, that's what I kind of ran into when I was watching the videos. I'm like, but I really like that white color. That white color looks fantastic, but the XL version is only going to be that black and metallic blue. You know? So I'm just sitting here like,
color selection's not great.
I would totally get that white one if it came in it. But
and it had the better buttons. It has
and it had the actual
style buttons.
Yeah, the actual colored buttons. I mean, the XL, just the letters are colored, not the buttons.
Yeah, they should have colored the buttons.
Yeah, whatever.
That'd have been neat. Oh well. That's not like a deal breaker. The other thing is that they're changing the SD card from a standard size SD card to a micro SD card, and they're putting it behind the battery cover.
Yeah.
So if you want to switch it out, you have to unscrew the little screws, and take off the back piece, and fiddle with the SD card that way. Well, it's a little bit awkward looking, but honestly, as soon as you get it all set up, you're probably never going to move that SD card again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. Is just like it's not really that big of a deal, because as soon as you get it in, you're probably not going to touch it. Unless if you get a bigger SD card, which I'm going to be getting a 32 gig with it. I'm probably not going to touch it.
You get a 32 gig, you get it, which is the biggest it'll support, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it supports SDXC, but
yeah,
here's hoping.
And you just pop it in, and you're good to go. And transferring your data over from your other 3DS, it's not going to be a problem because it's a different SD card. Like, you'd have a micro SD for the new one, and then standard SD for the original one. So it's really not that big a deal. Another thing I just thought of. As soon as you transfer your account from your 3DS XL or your 3DS to the new 3DS, that's it. You're not allowed to transfer it back.
Really?
Yeah, that's something I actually heard Blunty say.
Oh.
Was that once you transfer it, that's it. You can only transfer it... At that point, you can only transfer it over to another new 3DS. You can't transfer it back to your original 3DS. Which, I guess so, but... I don't know why they do that anyway. I think that it should all be handled through an account system, but...
Yeah, it should be handled through an account system, but it isn't.
Right. So, whatever. Anyway, but the biggest thing that people are having a problem with, and I think rightfully so, is it's not going to include a power adapter.
Yeah.
In America, this is the first system Nintendo's launching without the charging cord.
Isn't this like the first time ever a game company has never included like any sort of power cord or
No, because when the original 3DS XL, or excuse me, when the original Nintendo DS XL came out in Japan, that didn't include a power adapter. And I think they did that to Europe as well with the XL, where it didn't come with a power adapter. And then when the 3DS came out, the 3DS XL also did not have a power adapter. So, but in America, this will be the first time that we've had to deal with this, and I personally think it's bullshit. And I'm not going to mince words here. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. Because here's the thing: if you're a new parent and if your kid wants this thing, and you go out and you buy it,
and this is the first handheld Nintendo console they've had.
Right. He's finally old enough to own one. You think he can handle one, take care of one, and you go out and buy it. You're not going to know there's not a charging cable in there because it doesn't make sense that there wouldn't be. That's like if you bought a cell phone and they didn't give you a USB cable or a phone charger cord.
Or they didn't give you a power cord to your new TV.
So that's another $20 you got to spend to buy the power adapter.
Well, looking on Nintendo's support website, those power adapters are actually like $10, but still, it's another $10 that you're spending that you shouldn't actually be spending, since these things are probably only costing them like maybe 50 cents to produce.
Right. It's exactly. And besides, the thing is, you want to use the official adapter anyway, or something that's officially licensed by Nintendo, because otherwise it voids your warranty. So
another thing a parent would not know, that would probably grab some generic brand charger. Then little Timmy breaks it down the line, or it just breaks. Send it in. Oh, your warranty is voided. Why?
Yeah, because you used the Nyko power adapter.
Mm-hmm.
On the plus side, though, it does work with all Nintendo DSi, DSi XL, 3DS, and 3DS XL chargers. So, if you owned another one, you won't have to buy another one, but it's just a really bad idea not to include it.
Yeah, plus, the thing is I don't think Nintendo realizes that whenever a new console comes out, we trade in the old console, and usually we have to trade in any sort of power adapter or power cord along with the console.
Right.
So,
GameStop requires when you trade something in to have all the parts with it. So if you were going to trade in a 360, you'd have to have the power cord and the video cable and a controller. And that's just required. And yeah, same thing with a handheld. You have to have the power cable and the system. So it's ridiculous. With this new 3DS, are they going to become lax on that? You know, are they going to... Okay, since Nintendo didn't include one, you don't have to either. Or are they going to deduct the cost of a power adapter because when they sell it back to somebody, that person's going to want a power supply?
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. It's like if you bought a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4 and Sony was like, oh yeah, that power cord, that's extra.
Or that controller. Yeah, it doesn't come with a controller.
Yeah, or that controller. And I've heard people argue, well, a lot of people already own the system, already have power cables, there's no need to buy another one. That's ridiculous and that's stupid. When you buy a console, in the box, out of the box, it should include everything required to make that thing work. And it doesn't. And that's stupid. The power cable is not something that you might need. It's something that is required to operate the console. If you do not have it, the console doesn't charge the battery, the system doesn't turn on, and nothing gets done. It's ridiculous. I think this is a really... I thought it was dumb when I read that Japan didn't get it back when the 3DS or the DSi XL came out. I thought that was the dumbest thing I ever heard, and they keep doing it. And then over here they start doing it. It's like, really? I know it's, like you said, it's only an extra $10, but really?
Yeah, no.
Couldn't just throw it in the box.
Even still, really? Come on.
That's being petty, if nothing else. Anyway, yeah, so overall, I'm going to get one eventually. Probably not right away, but...
Me too. I'll be pre-ordering it tomorrow.
Yes, you're going to go out and get it tomorrow. Lucky you. But you're trading in your original 3DS.
Yeah, I have the original 3DS and a 3DS XL. And I'm just sitting here going, well, my original's just kind of sitting in a box under my bed. I might as well just put some use to it, get some money towards the new 3DS. Because, you know.
Right. Yeah, and I don't...
Why hold on to it?
I don't blame you.
I know you're not getting rid of yours because, you know, the whole collector thing.
I like having all of them.
Yeah.
It's neat. I don't know.
No, I'm totally there with you. It's really interesting to see the evolution of certain consoles, especially Nintendo handhelds.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
The only console I ever traded in was my original Xbox 360, which was the white one, because it red ringed. So I took it to GameStop and traded it in, and thank God it didn't red ring while they were testing it. And I traded in for the new black one, and the black one hasn't had any problems. So, cross my fingers.
Yep.
I'm gonna turn on tonight to play some Sonic Generations or something. It's gonna blow up on me. But yeah, so I generally don't trade anything into GameStop. I'm very rarely do I ever, and I think I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually done that.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, this is
I've
a really
only
good
regretted
deal.
it once.
I've regretted it one time, yeah. Really bad. I traded in some original Game Boy games to get some GameCube games, and I was not happy. Good GameCube games, but man, now trying to find original Game Boy games is a pain.
Yep.
Especially some of the ones that I traded in. But I remember which ones I did trade in. I have a list. So that's why every time I go out to, like, play and trade, I always look through the Game Boy games, because I'm looking through to find the games I used to have. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, so hopefully this will be an interesting or a good product launch for Nintendo. I just wish that just don't pull this power supply thing again. This is stupid. Because I'm going to go out and buy a new power supply. Because I know me. Because I'm going to want one for each one. So I can have them all plugged in at once, charge them all at once, and play them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's me. Anyway, let's see. Yep, that's pretty much it about the 3DS.
Yeah.
But more on that later when I get one.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so moving on. Phoenix and I have played games all year.
Hooray!
And it being 2015, we thought we'd look back on 2014 and list off our top 5 games of the year. These are really in no particular order for myself, except for the top 2. Like, 5 to 3 is, you can kind of interchange them for me, at least.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to actually come up with this list, because I wanted to pick games that I've played a lot of, that I got really into, so that I didn't just say, oh yeah, I got Bravely Default, and I love it, and it's number 5. Because
when you've only put in like maybe 10 minutes into it.
I actually haven't even put it in the system yet. Like, yeah. I put it in to make sure it worked, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took it out, and I started playing Fire Emblem again, so... Alright, so we'll start with our honorable mentions. I do have one that I want to mention. And that is, well, actually, I had 2. One is Super Smash Brothers. Now, before everyone gets their pitchforks and marches on my house and cries for my death and destruction, let me explain. I love Super Smash Brothers on Wii U and 3DS. I have them both. Love them. Love them to death. But the only time I ever play them is when my friends are over. Yeah. And my friends only come over like once a week.
Yeah. There's honestly no reason to play it single player. It's just not fun. I mean,
there's no single player mode.
Yeah.
There just isn't one. I mean, it's basically just a stage by stage battle mode, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few others, but there's nothing like what did they call it? Emissary mode or whatever it was.
Yeah, where it had like some sort of story, like it did on Melee.
Yeah,
or Brawl. Yeah, Brawl. Yeah, Brawl.
Right. And I don't think the amiibos really add anything to it. Like, I have a couple amiibos, and they're neat, because I've always wanted a Kirby figurine and a Samus figurine, so I bought them mainly just because I've always wanted them. They don't really do much. So, I love the games, and I play them all the time when my friends are over, but when they're gone, I don't find myself going to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play it alone. It's like if you ever watch anybody try to Let's Play a Mario Party game by themselves. It's just it's just sad. Pointless. It's pointless and sad. And that's kind of how I feel with Smash Brothers. So while I really like the game, and I'm totally giving it like props for it is one of the best games I've played all year, I just can't recommend it myself personally on my top 5. If I had to make a list, it would be number 7. So, I think that's still pretty high. Anyway, my other honorable mention is, actually, I'm going to change a little bit of what I was doing. I'm going to put Kirby Triple Deluxe as an honorable mention.
Okay.
And I really, really like that game. I think that game is probably one of the best Kirby games ever. It's fun, it's cute, it's colorful. I like the different power-ups, and I especially like the Nova Hyper mode, or whatever it is, where he sucks up the multicolored rainbow ball or whatever and goes crazy. It's great. But there were 5 other games I liked better. So that's pretty much it. Also, it's one of those games that once you beat it, I see very little reason to go back to it.
Yeah. Not much
I still
else
play
to
it
do.
every... Yeah, I still go back every once in a while just to have fun with it. But it is... You know, it's a good game. But there were 5 more that I liked better. So, any honorable mentions for you?
3, but I'll just kind of keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
2 of them are early access games on Steam. The first one is The Escapists. The general premise is you are a prisoner and you have to escape from jail. And what I absolutely adore of this game is that it's a very long, drawn-out procedural process that you gotta kind of think and plan out your own escape, which may not seem fun, but, you know, just going out, okay, what types of materials do I need to start this? Well, first I need to get, like, a shovel. How do I get a shovel? Then you can go to, like, you could either take one from the tool shed, or you can build a little, you know, MacGyvered shovel out of parts you've scavenged around the prison. Then you go, okay, so I need, like, some sort of file or pickaxe, and then so you can, you know, pick at the wall at night while the guards aren't, you know, really paying that much attention to you. And then you go, okay, well, now there's a hole in my wall. What do I need to make sure they don't see this? You know, get a poster or build a faux wall to place in its stead. And then it's just constant inventory management. It's constant you being fully aware of your surroundings. And it's just a process that you just need to methodically think through, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really fun to try to break out of jail. The game is pretty unforgiving. If you're caught, you practically have to start out back on square one. So, yeah, all the more incentive to not get caught.
So it's like the original Splinter Cell.
Yeah, if you take a top-down 2D game.
No, I mean in terms of its punishing nature.
Yeah.
Because that game, you screw up one time in the original Splinter Cell, and that was it. Like, you go all the way back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm. But it's also pretty cool. You can do, like, favors for other prisoners to get them to like you more and to get stuff and money from them. You can do favors for the guards as well to get them to like you so that they could, like, kind of wave off some of your other, you know, more heinous stuff. You know, it's a very interesting concept, and they do it really well. Not to mention there are multiple ways to escape, which is either, you know, dig a hole under the wall, climb up over the wall, steal a key and make a mold of the key, and then create a copy of the key, and then, you know, kind of work your way through the prison, not getting caught, to get a key to, like, the main gate. Or you could do a prison riot by knocking out all the cops and basically taking over. You know, it's pretty open in terms of what you want to do to get out.
So it's Minecraft crossed with Prison Break.
Yeah, kinda.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, I do recommend it if you are interested. The second game is a rhythm game called Melody's Escape. Not much really going for the game other than the fact that you can use your own music, and then it generates the levels based on how the music plays. If there's a really slow part in the song, it slows down. If it's really fast, it, you know, speeds up in terms of how you have to hit specific things. There's specific obstacles that you need to be paying attention to which button you gotta press to overcome, else you're just gonna mess up your combo. And I don't know, it's a very casual game in terms of its gameplay, but it can get pretty hard once you start cranking up the difficulty. And
what was that game from last year that you talked about that was like that?
Audio Surf.
Audio Surf, that's what I'm thinking of. Is it better than Audio Surf?
Honestly, now since I've played Audio Surf again and Audio Surf is updated, way past what it was. I mean, AudioSurf was kind of a mess when it initially launched. But through updates, I think they're more or less kind of the same in terms of how much I like them. You know.
Okay.
I guess it just depends on your visual appeal of if you want to collect blocks to build your score, or if you just want to hit a button in time with the music to increase your score. Which the collecting stuff is AudioSurf, and the hitting in time is Melody's Escape. And plus, it's just good to just sit back, play it, and listen to your music.
Yeah, it's
so.
Sounds like fun if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah. And the third game is South Park and the Stick of Truth. Now, I do...
This is a game that, honestly, when I was making my top 5, Sandalphon was over.
Uh-huh.
As I was trying to write my list down, and he goes, "Have you played Stick of Truth yet?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "That would have been on your list had you played it."
Dependable.
Yeah.
Well, debatable. I love the game. It was really fun to play through. I love the fact that it looked exactly like the show. I loved the little RPG combat as it had its own little twist on, how it handled it. It wasn't, the typical just mash A to attack. You actually had to time your attacks. You had to time your defenses. You had to, do special things to get your special moves to work. It was really interesting. It's just the problem that I ran into is about getting more or less around halfway through the game. Nothing really changes in terms of gameplay. It just pretty much stays the same. And, it got a little boring for me. I mean, the story, it's South Park. It's funny and it's actually pretty engrossing, but in terms of gameplay, it just kind of stagnated halfway through, and I just more or less got to the point where I was like, okay, I know I'm kind of near the end. Let's just beat this. I didn't even bother with side quests at that point. I was just like, I just kind of want to get this done. But no, if you love South Park, I'm pretty sure you'll love the game, and it is a good game. But like I said, it gets a little stale halfway through.
I want to play it, and I will eventually.
Yeah, no, I recommend it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's move on to our lists. And so we'll kind of alternate. But going by my list, the first game on my list, number 5 on the top 5 games of 2014 for me personally, is Hatsune Miku Project Diva F2nd. This is a really late purchase. I think it came out in like November, but I didn't pick it up until after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I had maybe a week with it before 2015 rolled around. I bought it both on PS3 and PS Vita. And I know why, because I loved it. And the cool thing is, it's everything from the first game, but added to. Like, they added new commands that you have to input. Like, there's certain stars that you have to flick both joysticks, or if you're on the Vita, swipe twice on the screen in order to hit them right. They did that Starlink maneuver. Anyway, it's everything from the first game, but better, faster, and I think more fun. My only downside for it, if I had to say a negative, is some of the musical tracks just are not as catchy as the first game. It's almost like they put all the best songs in the first game, and then when the sequel came around, they're like, oh, darn.
Oh, this was popular. Oh, crap.
Yeah. So it feels like there's not many, but there's a few in there that I'm like, I didn't really care for that one. So, but overall, I like it. I like having it on both systems because it does the cross-saving thing. So I can take the Vita out with me, play the game on the road, bring it home, and upload my save back to my PlayStation 3 and play it on my TV. So that's cool. Oh, and they simplified the button calibration. Rather than just blindly choosing a number between 1 and 50, or however it worked in the first game, to figure out your timing on your TV's input lag, the game actually comes with like a Guitar Hero style, like where the icon flies across the screen and you just hit the button when you think it's in the middle and it just kind of auto times it.
Nice.
So that's cool. And the funny thing is the Vita version has that too, and at first I thought that was really stupid because the PlayStation Vita is a handheld. Like, why would you need that? Then I realized if you have a PlayStation Vita TV and you want to play this on the Vita TV, you're going to need that.
Yeah.
To compensate for your TV's lag. So that's cool that they included that in case you have that, the PlayStation TV. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the only downside is some of the songs are not as memorable as I think they should be, but it's got a whole wealth of extras, and the fact that you can connect it to the PS3 version and back again to the Vita version is a big plus. Oh, funny bit, it actually lets you import your saves from the Japanese versions of the game. So they obviously know who they're catering to because, if you bothered to import this thing and you want to play it in English now, you can, and we'll let you import your save. So. Other than that, it's more of the same. I mean, if you liked the Hatsune Miku game, you're going to like the second one. There's really not a whole lot different. They added a couple more commands, like I said, and it's a little bit faster, a little bit more intense, but it's still just as much fun. And I find myself, if I just have like 10 minutes before I go to bed or something, I'll throw it in and play a song or two and then go to bed. So it's a nice pick up and play game. So
cool. That's
my number 5. Oh, and I am including both console version and handheld version because they do the cross-save bit.
Yeah.
And they are identical. If you saw them side by side, besides the screen resolution, you could not tell the difference. I personally can't either. So.
All right.
That's why I'm including both. But yeah, that's my number 5.
Okay. My number 5 is Bravely Default for the 3DS. Now,
I own that, but I haven't played it yet.
Now, when this came out, it had been a while before Square Enix actually had like a good old-fashioned Final Fantasy type of game. And this was pretty much their reaction to everyone just going, we want Final Fantasy again, because, 13 kind of sucked. But no, they basically went back to their roots in terms of gameplay and improved upon it. But it's not a Final Fantasy game, if you really care about naming. But it feels Final Fantasy in terms of how it plays.
But it's clearly called Final Fantasy Bravely Default.
Yeah, sure. But no, I really adore the game just because it has the old type of job system that the original games had. I really love the fact that you can honestly pretty much choose whatever job that you unlock, and you can easily swap between all of them whenever you want outside of battle. And on top of the usual black mage and white mage and fighter and something, they also throw in some more interesting ones, such as, I forget what it's called, but basically you imbue magic on your weapons to give them a magical element on top of their physical damage. So you would do even more damage on top of, inflicting the elemental damage. Like if they're weak to fire, then you imbued your sword with fire, and then you'll do extra damage on top of your, sword damage. There's the...
Is it Alchemist?
No,
Okay.
it's something different.
If I'd have played the game, I would know. But
Yeah. But there's other interesting jobs that were in there. Another one, like I said, I forget the name, but basically you use your money to fight. So if you have a lot of money, you basically kind of bet your money to do more damage. And there's other like money-based attacks that you can do with them.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's all I can remember off the top of my head because, it's been a while since I've actually put it back in. I mean, I did play like about halfway through it. So But it's just other stuff has came out, and I'm kind of getting into Persona 3 now. So I'll get back to that when I do.
And Pokemon.
Funny thing is I've actually kind of ignored Pokemon Omega Ruby in favor of like another game on my list.
You told me you bought the new Pokemon game, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, you were.
I was playing something else. Now, like I said, Pokemon would be an honorable mention, but before you raise your pitchforks, the thing is I can't stand Pokemon because it keeps doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. Yes, they do include little things to make the experience a little different every time, but really what it boils down to is you exploring the region and catching Pokemon, beating the gyms, becoming the regional champion. That's all it is. And it got to about when I got to about the third gym in Pokemon, I was just like, why the hell am I doing this again? I did this in X and Y. Why am I doing this again? And it just kind of really bogged me down. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just, I'm kind of tired of the same thing over and over again.
That's what made me stop playing Pokemon when Ruby came out on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Because I had played Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, and Silver, and then I went to Ruby, and I'm like, it's the same game.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a little better, but that's it.
Like, honestly, the only way that they could really get my interest again is if they had like some sort of, I don't know, real-time system where you could actually control your Pokemon and move it around a battlefield and actually launch your attacks. And you can physically dodge other attacks and stuff like that. That would be fun.
It would be neat if they had that, but with, like, terrain.
Yeah.
So, like, if you were above them, they would maybe be less likely to hit you or something.
Or if, like, say you were a water Pokemon and there was a pond over on one side of the battlefield, you could get an advantage over there if you could lure them over there. Stuff like that. That would be really fun, but aside from moving completely into 3D now, they really haven't changed the formula. But I'm talking about Bravely Default. God, I really hate it when I get sidetracked.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Back to your number 5 game of the year. Go on.
If there was one thing that I'd have to really kind of complain about is actually kind of on top with Pokemon in terms of how I feel. Because it's another story of fixing the world by rescuing all the 4 gems that represent wind, water, earth, and whatever. It's yeah, sure. I forget.
It's gotta be fire. Come on.
Gotta be fire. Yeah, but
Golden Sun.
It's the same crystal story that was in the previous Final Fantasies. All the older classics. It's generally the same story, but different elements to it. And that's honestly kind of the reason why I stopped playing it too, just because I was actually kind of calling out story elements and they were happening before they were actually happening.
Right.
So I'm just sitting here like, yeah, it's a little predictable. But no, like in terms of a fantasy RPG and getting back to the roots of Final Fantasy, this is your game. This is like a good game to get into. Like if you haven't played the originals like I have, I can see people really getting into this. And yeah, it's fun. I love the battle system. It's a mix of strategy with defaulting to earn more battle points and braving to use your battle points and using skills which can use more battle points or your HP. It has a really cool friend system where if your friend has like a max of one type of class, you can actually like imbue that onto your class so you can get that friend's level in terms of class without actually leveling that class. It's kind of cheap, but it works. And it's a pretty in-depth game in terms of its battle system. You're not mashing A. You will die if you mash A to attack.
Or you'll kill everything before they kill you.
No, everything will kill you way faster than...
That kind of reminds me of how Shin Megami Tensei works.
Yeah.
Because I played Shin Megami Tensei 4 for a bit, and it was like, man, if I'm not paying attention, I'm getting my ass kicked.
Yep. It's pretty much like that. You got to really strategize how your BP usage and your BP recovery just to get the most out of battles. Like, bosses will wreck you if you're not paying attention to that. You know,
so not a game to play while you're watching on TV or something.
Yeah. You know, it got to a point where I was like, okay, an effective strategy that I kept using was I would raise everyone's BP up to the max of 4, and then I would basically, like, kind of balance it between always there would at least be someone who has 4 uses, and, you know, the other people would have, like, some in between, so that, like, if it came down to me needing to use more turns for a different character, then I could. And, you know, it just got really strategizing, and I just love strategizing. I really hate that, you know, more mainstream RPGs are just become, you know, press A to, or mash A to win, and that's it. But, yeah, no, Bravely Default.
Yay, number 5. Okay, moving on. Number 4 for me. This was until recently the Kirby game, but I put that as an honorable mention because I remembered something else that I liked even more, and that was Mario Kart 8. I love Mario Kart 8 on Wii U. I think it's amazing. It's probably my favorite Mario Kart ever. I never thought they'd be able to beat the Nintendo 64 version for me, but everything about this game feels polished. It's just so much fun. It is a blast. The gimmick of riding on walls, well, it doesn't add a whole lot to the game. It changes it up just enough to make it feel new, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Where it doesn't feel like you're playing the same old Mario Kart that you've been playing for years now. But the biggest thing that they fixed is they fixed the drifting. They fixed the boost mechanics and the drifting to where you actually feel like you're in control of it. I mean, my God, I think the last one I played before was Mario Kart DS, and I hated that game because I could never figure out how to drift properly, because you always had to rock the D-pad back and forth, and it was annoying. And then the people who could figure it out just did nothing but abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was a thing called snaking, where they basically would just boost left and right, but eventually go in a straight line, and it made playing online impossible. Like, just no fun at all. This is a lot more balanced, I think. The game looks great. Finally seeing Mario Kart in HD is a real treat. And honestly, it's a great game to play with friends or alone. Like, I find myself every once in a while just popping it in and playing through a match. Half of the DLC is out. I bought both of the DLC packs already, but only the first one's out yet, and those tracks are great. The extra vehicles are fun. I really have very little bad to say about it. I do have a few, but the only negatives are the battle mode is broken and worthless, and I hate it. The fact that they took out the arenas and instead put in like little chopped bits of the tracks and like, fight on this. No, this isn't fun. This is annoying. We're all just going in a circle. And the online is a bit buggy and a little bit laggy. But other than that, I mean, local multiplayer, which is what I usually end up playing, is a real ton of fun. So, yes, number 4, Mario Kart 8, really, really good. Honestly, the Wii U as a whole has been really good this year.
Yeah.
I think 2014 was the best year for it. And,
it's only gonna get better.
Yeah, it's only gonna get better from here. There was Smash Brothers and Bayonetta 2 and Hyrule Warriors and Mario Kart 8 all out this year. And they were all great. So that boosts my library to like 11 games, which is better than the Virtual Boy, so that's something.
Mm-hmm.
At least games worth owning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so number 4, Mario Kart 8. It's awesome.
Cool.
Oh, still doesn't take away my favorite racer of all time, which is Sonic All-Stars Racing, but it comes close.
Mm-hmm. Well, if only they can find a suitable balance for that stupid blue turtle shell.
Actually, there is a balance. You can actually get away from it.
Oh.
You have to time it just right, but you can get away from it if you do it right. There's actual skill involved with getting away from it.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, it's not it's once you learn how to avoid it, it's like killing a witch in Left 4 Dead 2. Like, as soon as you figure out how to do it, it's really no longer a problem. You just have to, when you see it coming, get yourself prepped and ready, and then boost at just the right time. And yeah, so still catches me sometimes, but overall I'm getting better. So anyway, alright, on to you.
My number 4 is The Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
I have to play this. I played it on my computer like a couple months ago when you came over.
Yeah, when I came over and logged in my account.
Yeah, and man, that was fun, but for some reason I haven't bought it. I feel like kicking myself.
Yeah. But, for those of you who don't know, Binding of Isaac Rebirth is actually a remake of the Flash version of Binding of Isaac. I honestly don't care if you don't think it counts because it's a remake, but whatever. It was made in 2014, and it's a new game.
It's not really a remake, though, because it is so drastically different.
It is drastically different. They actually rebuilt the game from the ground up in a new engine, so it's not made in Flash anymore. They included everything from the original Binding of Isaac, not the bugs. They fixed those. And they included like another, I think it was like another 150 items, another new 8 new bosses, a whole nother area that you can unlock, a whole new, I don't know, it's like 2 new characters, 3 new characters, I don't know, a couple new characters, yeah, I think it was like 3. You know, on top of it, you know, being in a new engine, so now you're not like relying on your CPU power like Flash does. It actually utilizes your GPU so that, you know, you get a nice smooth experience. There's controller support, so you can just plug in your Xbox controller or its equivalent into your computer and you can just play it without finagling with Joy to Key or something. And it's honestly just completely refined from, you know, the Flash version. And, you know, like I said, because it's in the new engine, I consider it a new game because they honestly did have to remake everything and build everything back from the ground up for this game. And, you know, it's you know, people have complained, oh, it's an update. No, it isn't. You know, update.
And a co-op.
Yeah, and they also included a co-op. Something I honestly am questioning. And I know a lot of people want online co-op, but honestly, in my opinion, I think that kind of ruins the atmosphere of the game. But the way that they do co-op is smartly done. Basically, based on how much health you have, is how much health determines how much health the co-op partner has. I don't know the fine numbers, but basically, whenever a co-op partner comes in, you need to at least have 2 whole hearts. And when the co-op partner comes in, he will take one of the hearts from the main player and use that for the co-op partner. And then whenever the co-op partner dies, then that heart container will go back to the main player, and then they can, you know, go and recover that by picking up stuff. And there's, aside from just, you know, the generic, I don't know if anyone's, you know, played it. I mean, I know it's pretty popular, but basically you get these little babies that, you know, you can control around. It's not another Isaac, it's another little like floating baby. that you can control, and not only then just getting the generic shooting ones. There's also special ones that shoot things like a laser beam, the brimstone beam, tracking tears, ghostly tears, things like that. So you'll have a rare chance of becoming one of these special babies, and then it's interestingly done. Though I will probably never really play co-op, just because, like I said, it kind of ruins the experience for me anyway.
Aw, but I want to play together.
I know. It's just... Personally, I think it's kind of more easy mode, because then you can have two players focusing on two different things, instead of it just being you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and plus they did also balance out the damage to where, Isaac loses a little bit of his damage when you spawn in a co-op partner, so it's not you and your co-op partner having the maximum amount of damage that you would have had. So it's a little balanced that way too. But other than that, the game, it's replayable as all hell. Like, everything, and I literally mean everything in that game, is randomly generated. The dungeon size, the different curses that you could have upon entering a dungeon, the different bosses, the enemies, the different room layouts, which is literally hundreds upon hundreds of different room layouts. The different items that you can pick up, like I said, there's 450, I think, in the game, and at most, if you're not breaking the game, which you can break the game with specific items, you're only picking up like maybe 15 different power-ups. A couple more if you know how to play the game smart. But it's just an overall greatly updated experience for the game, and between choosing between the Flash version and Rebirth, get Rebirth. It is just leagues better than the original. Not to mention, it can pretty much run on any computer, because
I was running it on my basement desktop, and that thing is not a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it's a roguelike game. Basically, you die, that's it. You gotta restart from the beginning. There is kind of a saving mechanic, which also I kind of don't like, because that kind of ruins the tension in terms of, making it through. I mean, it only saves when you exit, so you can basically, like, if you have something to do, you can quit the game and then get back in, where you were at, so you can't really save scum. But, it still kind of ruins it for me a little. But
well, at least there's controller support. That was the one big thing with the original that I didn't like, was you had to go fiddle with joy to key.
But like I said, I put like over 100 hours in the original. I haven't put as much in Rebirth just because now I have a job, so I can't. But no, I can easily see myself replaying that over and over and over and over and over again, because literally no two playthroughs will ever, and I do mean ever, be the same. So
good. So number 4. That's your number 4. All right. So back over to me. Number 3 for me is a game.
I think our number 3 is the same, so we could just probably compile this.
Okay. Freedom Planet?
Yep, Freedom Planet.
Freedom Planet. Freedom Planet is a indie game on Steam, developed by a studio called Galaxy Trail, and it harkens back to the good old days of 2D platformers like Sonic the Hedgehog, Rocket Knight Adventures, Super Mario Brothers to a lesser extent. And yeah, it's just good old-fashioned, quick, Twitch-based gameplay, good platforming, boss fights that require memorization, and again, Twitch reflexes and some luck. And the music's great, the graphics are fantastic. It looks like an old 16-bit game. Well, it looks better than a 16-bit game, but I mean, that's the general idea. Very colorful, very good game. Controls are a little floaty, but you get used to them.
Yeah.
At least I think they're a bit floaty. And once you master the dragon's speed mechanic, or the boost mechanic, she just becomes amazing to play as. There's also a dog character who's a lot of fun, and there's a cat on a motorcycle, which is interesting, but not my favorite to play as. I actually like the dog better, because the dog floats like Tails or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Because without the motorcycle, the cat becomes kind of useless. But anyway, it really is just a fantastic game. It really well put together, really well done. And yeah, I love it. I love it to death. I think it was like, what, $15?
Yep, it's $15
when it came out, and it's worth every penny. And because it's, a 2D platformer, it runs on nothing. You can run this thing on a toaster in a microwave. So it is great to play. The controls are, it has controller support and everything, so you don't have to fiddle with joy-to-key. It just works. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I don't know what else I can really say. It is the epitome of what a good old school platformer should be. Oh, Mega Man. Kind of reminds me of Mega Man a bit. And Gunstar Heroes. It brings back all of these great memories from gaming on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, and just brings them into the modern age, but still keeping that classic mentality. It's great.
The only thing that I would have to say that I kind of don't like about Freedom Planet is it just kind of feels just a little off. The voice acting isn't really that great in Freedom Planet. Like I know you skipped the story segments, but I'm a story junkie. I gotta listen to the story to play my game, just to care about these characters. And the voice acting isn't really that great, but there is an interesting Easter egg. I think if you hold like A and down on the controller, like during specific scenes, it will actually play their outtakes for that line instead. Which, well, you can honestly just go into the sound files and find the outtakes too if you want to listen to them. There's only like 3 or 4, not that many. But yeah, like that's a cool little Easter egg, I thought. But yeah, it's just the one thing is, I don't really care for the voice acting in it. It's a great game, other than that.
Yeah. Also, this is another. I'm gonna make it seem like our number 3 is just the worst game ever. But I think some of the levels can be a bit long. The checkpoints are frequent enough where it's not really a problem if you die. But I mean, they take a while to get through. So this isn't the kind of game that you can pick up and play. Like, you really have to dedicate a little bit of time to each level just to get through it. And like I said, the boss fights are really I won't say difficult, but they're really they demand your attention.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out the patterns, or else you are just going to be completely destroyed. But once you figure out the pattern and what to do, it's not that hard. It's that what do you call it? The learning aspect of it that's a little bit hard to get. Maybe because I'm so out of practice from playing all the current games where they hold your hand and highlight things and yell at you if you don't do exactly what the game just told you to do 3 seconds ago. But which I can commend it for. But yeah, the levels are a bit long and the bosses are take a bit of practice. So it's repetition. There we go.
Yeah.
But no, good game. Number 3. Love that game.
Hoorah.
So, alright, so jumping forward to number 2. Wow, we're gonna wrap this up real quick.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is Fairy Fencer F on PlayStation 3. I don't know what else to say other than I'm really, really happy I didn't let this one pass me by.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this was one of the games that NIS America had on their website, and I had pre-ordered a couple of other things and bought a couple other things from them. And I looked at it and I thought, no, I'm going to let this one go. It's fine. But then Phoenix went ahead and pre-ordered it, so then I looked into it further. And the more and more I looked into it, the more and more I was interested in it, so I pre-ordered the special edition. And I'm so happy I did. The game itself is pretty typical of an RPG on the PlayStation 3. You know, you get the cardboard cutouts of the characters talking to each other in cutscenes. There's very little actual animation going on in the cutscenes. The voice acting
all the action in the cutscenes is just sound effects and character reactions.
Or they do 3 seconds of a cutscene, then cut back to the paper cutouts, and it's like, what?
I
didn't see the big reveal bit. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it has those shortcomings, but what it has instead is really good characters, really good voice acting, and just a nice sense of humor and a good sense of levity to the story. It's not about, I mean, yes, it is about saving the world, as many RPGs tend to be, but it's
honestly a different kind of saving the world, because you would expect some sort of big megalomaniacal boss that you're fighting against, when really, like, I haven't played it as much as you, but really the only thing you're doing is reviving the goddess.
Well, you are fighting against the corporation. I forget the name of them.
Yeah.
But there's like 4 different... they have a special term for them. But, like, you know, 4 special captains, whatever, that you gotta defeat for this one corporation. And you have to find the fairies and release the queen or whatever. I am screwing this story up so bad. Before they do, but I mean, it's a different kind of story. It's not the Sephiroth Final Fantasy VII destroy the world bit. You are saving the world, but you're going about it in a lot more. It's more fun. Well, it's not. It doesn't take itself too seriously.
It's a different way of thinking on how to save the world.
Right. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's a different way to go about it. And honestly, who's that character? Was it Luke from Tales of the Abyss?
Yeah.
The character Fang in Fairy Fencer F reminds me a lot of him, where he just does not want to do this. He's just doing it because he's being forced to do it, and he doesn't care, and he just wants to eat and be left alone, but his fairy won't let him, and it just, I don't know, it just makes all the cutscenes hilarious. The dialogue's really funny. And yeah, the battle system's pretty standard for an RPG. You move around and attack, and you know, you have elemental powers and whatever. But there's 2 things that the battle system does that I like. One is the ability to skip animations. This is the best thing an RPG has ever done. I don't have to sit there and watch them attack over and over and over again. If you hold down one of the trigger buttons on the PlayStation 3 controller, it skips all the animations. So if you are going into a battle that you know you're going to just walk over, it takes 3 seconds to beat. You don't have to spend any time in battle if you don't want to. I mean, it's not like Earthbound where they just, like, they warp you into the battle and immediately claim victory. But it's pretty darn close. Which makes grinding a breeze. The other thing that I like is I like the I forget what you call it, but just the way that they level up. Like, you get what's called weapon points, and you can use the weapon points to not only, like, when you level up, you get, you know, more HP and more attack power and all that stuff. But what you can also get is a thing called weapon points, which you can use to augment yourself. So increase your maximum combo limit, increase your fair rise abilities, increase your, you know, overall magic abilities on top of the leveling up. So, and it's really simple. It's not like Hyperdimension Neptunia that's really obscure and really hard to understand. This is really straightforward stuff that's presented very well. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. And it's also interesting that when you get a fairy, you have to then go to the goddess or the vile god and figure out what sword best matches it, what kind of abilities your characters have, what kind of fairy would go good with them, that kind of thing. So you can augment them even further using just the fairies. So it's a lot of strategy, but also it's simple enough that you don't get bogged down in it. Oh, also the game tells you exactly what to do next. I love that. I don't want to have to fiddle around looking for that one little obscure item I need to get past the crevice in the ground or something. Like, just tell me where to go, let me go there, let me do my thing. Like, that's all this game is. So it's really, it takes a lot of the frustrating aspects of an RPG out of the RPG. And I think that's why I like it so much, is because if I have an hour to kill, I feel like I'm actually making progress. Instead of running around the same field for the 100th time. That's the one thing about like a game like Xenoblade Chronicles, where I really, really like that game, but you spend hours in the opening field. Just hours upon hours upon hours doing, one battle after the other, just trying to get strong enough to leave the field. And I don't feel that constricted with Fairy Fencer. It also helps that the music's great. It's got this cool, like, rock synth thing going on, and it's just more upbeat in general than most RPGs tend to be. So, keeps you going. I mean, I'm over... Well, okay, the game has been registered as 13 hours, but really it's over that because I forgot to save a couple times. And I lost a lot of progress, but the fact that... So I'm probably like 20 plus hours in overall, but the fact that I'm still playing it and still going back to it, and Phoenix knows how I am with RPGs. If I lose it...
He doesn't play RPGs.
I don't play them too often, and the very few that I do, I tend to lose interest fairly quickly. So the fact that I'm into this game as much as I am should say something. I also like the main character, because he's fun. I don't know. I like everything about it. It has very few negatives. If I had to say a negative, it's... The menus could be better. That's really kind of a minor thing. And also the whole paper cutout, one character talking to another thing does get old pretty quick, but thankfully the dialogue is interesting and funny enough to keep you going, so.
Cool.
Yep.
Alright.
I like that game. Number 2. Alright, go ahead.
My number 2 is Fantasy Life for the 3DS. This is the game I stopped playing Pokemon for. It's an RPG that mainly focuses on, you play the game, you have the life that you want in your game. There are many different classes that you can choose from, or lives as they call them, such as the blacksmith, a woodcutter, a carpenter, seamstress, fabricator, an alchemist, magician. Oh, there's like 12 different things that you can choose from in between. And they each have their own like little mini stories to go along with them on top of like the overarching story. But this game, it has a lot of charm to it. All the characters are kind of like, like little chibi characters. The battle system is all in real time, so you can swing your sword and put up your shield and dodge enemy attacks, all like on you just moving around the battlefield. You can learn different types of attacks based on what life you're holding, what life you're currently using, and oh yeah, there's also like a paladin, a mercenary, and a ranger. So if you want to like have bow and arrow, you can. And they all have their own like battle skills attuned to those lives that you will learn as you just play. The story itself, it's kind of childish. It's not really that deep, which I can kind of see this being more of a kid game. But because it's super simple, because it doesn't really take itself seriously, and it just, all of its charm, it really kind of drew me into it. And it's honestly like, aside from fighting, it's kind of a no-brain game. You really don't have to think. You can just kind of play through it. But when it comes to battles, you got to really kind of, watch yourself, make sure that you're not getting hit, by some attack that'll just waste your party. It has interesting online features where you and 2 other friends who are playing the game can all play together over Wi-Fi. You don't need to be locally playing to do it. And on top of that, you can recruit other party members to walk around. And the different lives, there's like different tiers that you basically level up when. After you do certain tasks, you get these, like, they're called skill points or skill stars or whatever that you earn, and that's how you basically upgrade yourself in that life from becoming a novice to an adept to a master type of thing, all the while learning your new skills while doing that. Like, you've cut down this specific type of tree 10 times. There's some skill points. You've cut down different types of trees from all around the world. There's, skill points for all that. You've defeated these specific monsters. You've made these specific items. You've made these specific weapons, armor, things like that. It's all, fit. I don't know, it just all kind of comes together, and it's really simple to where, you don't gotta think much. One thing that I would kind of say bad about it, well, a couple things, honestly, is that the story is really short. Like, if you just play through the story mode, it honestly won't last you, like, it'll last you like maybe 15 hours, which isn't a lot for an RPG. But if you're really into, like, 100%ing this game, I can honestly see it like pushing you well over 50 hours. Just because there's just so much to do in terms of the different lives and the different areas that you can explore and the different materials that you need, and it's just there's a lot that you can sink your teeth into. It's in my opinion well worth the $40, and I know you won't say it, but worth the also $10 DLC that comes with it. Just in terms
of the one that's on the DVD,
yeah,
that's on the disc.
Yeah, I'll get to that. But honestly, I do see that it's a $50 game just in the wealth of content that it has. The other bad thing about, well, 2 other bad things about this game, and they kind of go hand in hand, is that the game has on-cart DLC. Meaning the DLC, if you're unfamiliar with this, is already on the cart, you just do not have access to it. Whenever you buy it, you're basically buying the unlock to access it. You're not downloading anything extra, which amongst many gamers is a cardinal sin of gaming, which I kind of agree with. It's bullshit. Things that's on the disc, I bought the cart, everything on the cart I should have access to. But, which this also goes to my other point, where if you're playing multiplayer, if one person has the DLC and the other person doesn't, you can't play together, regardless of the fact that both people actually have the content. It's just absurd, for that. But no, me personally, after putting, I think I'm around 20 hours now, since I kind of dallied about with the other lives, I haven't actually been focusing on the main story. I don't know, in terms of content, I would say, yeah, sure, it's worth the $50, including the DLC, but yeah, it's kind of bullshit that the DLC is on the cart and you just can't access it.
I wouldn't take offense to it if they would have just charged $50 for the game and everything's on the cart.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's already there, but you download a 10 kilobyte key that unlocks that part of the cart. That's just...
Yeah, I know.
That's just bad business practice right there.
Not to mention how Nintendo handles their download content. It really sucks. Like if you lose, your 3DS and you just can't recover the data, you have to get a new 3DS and you can't transfer it, you're gonna have to buy that DLC again.
Right.
It's just stuff on top of other stuff that just it's why I really don't like buying digitally for Nintendo products, because everything is locked to the console instead of your account. But in terms of the game itself, it's fantastic. It's fun to play. While I do say that it's really simple, you do gotta kind of focus on certain parts, especially in battles. And it's just the story is charming. And it's just a great game to play. If you're looking for a kind of kid-friendly RPG for your kids or something, I'd say it's a good investment.
That's cool. And I disagree, because on-disc DLC should be forbidden.
Yeah, I know.
I read a lot of forum posts where people were defending it because, well, in Japan they had to re-release the game because it was a new edition, so that's the edition we're getting, but they didn't have it ready, so they just put it on the cart, but then they didn't have enough space, so you have to... I'm like, I don't really care what the excuse is. It's inexcusable, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the disc.
Now, wasn't the thing that Capcom said that it was so that you could play...
They said the only way... Yeah, it was the only way they could get it so you could play against somebody else who has the DLC, is just for you to have it as well. And it's like, yeah, but that's stupid. That just means you don't want to code. That just means you're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, loading one character, especially in a fighting game, loading one character and their animations and loading someone else's character and their animations shouldn't take that long. It just shouldn't. And, yeah, I don't know. Capcom is really the one that really got a lot of flack for on-disc DLC with a lot of their games, and honestly, I don't support games that do that. If a game has on-disc DLC, I just don't buy it out of principle.
Yep.
So, as much as I want to get Freedom Life, and it does look like a lot of fun, and I know you've spoken very highly of it, I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yep. No, that's why I let you know about it, just because I knew you would be lividly pissed if you bought it then found it out.
Yeah, if I'd have bought it first and then figured out that my $10 was just to unlock some, 10 kilobyte key thing, I'd have been pissed.
Mm-hmm.
So good for letting me know.
Yep.
Okay, so on to my number one and my top game of 2014. Drum roll and moment of silence. And okay, so Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc for the PlayStation Vita. This was a game that came out of left field to blow my mind.
You're welcome.
Yes, and I owe this all to Phoenix. God, if we weren't friends, you know how many games I would miss out on? No, I'm serious. Like, Fairy Fencer F, I would never have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And Danganronpa, I would have never thought about. It's okay, basically the game is a visual novel, and you play this character named Kyoko, I think his name is. It's been so long since
I wouldn't know. I actually haven't played it.
Okay. Well, you get admitted into this school for the gifted or the special or whatever. And it ends up being a complete farce. Essentially, you are locked in this school and you have to live in this school
for the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. But there is one way out, and the way out is if you can kill somebody and get away with it. And so the whole game kind of teeters on the edge of being something like Professor Layton, something like Ace Attorney. So basically,
funny you should mention that.
Yeah. So basically what you do... but the best thing about the game is a character named Monokuma, which is a black and white bear robot that is so much fun. He's basically the headmaster of the school, and he just likes to screw with your head. And he is my favorite character in the game in a long time, and honestly, he's the reason I kept playing the game all the way to completion. Because the game has its flaws, and the game is actually extremely linear. But it was Monokuma that kept me coming back, kept me interested. Anyway, so yeah, you're locked in this school, and so what happens is one student will kill another student. Or I should say, one student will die. I think it's a better way to put it. So then you have to figure out how that person died, who did it, and go into a investigation mode. There's essentially three different modes in the game. There's walk around mode, where you can explore the school, talk to the other students, and form relationships with them, which unlock special abilities for later in the game. The second mode is investigation mode. So once a murder has occurred, you can look at the crime scene, talk to the witnesses, talk to all the other students, and kind of compile your case from there. And the third mode is the court mode, where you basically go over the evidence and figure out who did it. If you're right, then you get to keep playing. And that person's put to death, because if they're found out, they're immediately killed. But if you're wrong, then everybody dies, and the game is over. Granted, that doesn't sound as final as it actually... it sounds more final than it actually is, because you just reload your save, and you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is nerve-wracking. And yeah, but the main issue with the game, though, is the story's very well done, very well told. The characters are great. The voice acting is fantastic. Everything's top-notch. My only complaint is that it's one of those games you're only going to need to play once. And that's it. Because it's a novel. It's a book. The ending does not change. The same person's going to do it. The same cases happen in the same order. So there's really very little reason to go back and replay the game. Now, with that being said, though, I've replayed it twice. And it's just because I like it that much. I want to go talk to the other students in a different order. Try to figure out, try to get other abilities for later in the game. Just mess with things. And yeah, I just had the most fun with it all year. It's a game that I keep thinking about. I think I keep going back to. I love the music.
It's one of the rare games that you keep going. You gotta play it. You gotta play it. You gotta play it. Have you played Danganronpa yet? You gotta play it.
Yeah.
Out of all the games I tell him to play, this is the one he constantly tells me to play.
Yep. I had a Vita, and I don't think you had a Vita at this point.
I didn't have a Vita at the time, no.
And you brought it to my attention, and it looked interesting to me. I did some research on it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to pre-order this, so I did. And boy, was I happy. I have the plushie. I have the figure. I paid way too much for them. I don't care. I have the special edition of both the first and second game. I'm waiting for the third game. As soon as whenever that gets announced. Well, I mean, it's already out, but when it gets over here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a series that I absolutely love. And to be honest, it's really, I won't say rekindled, but it's brought my attention to visual novels as an actual game. Because I've played visual novels before, stuff like 9 Persons, 9 Hours, 9 Doors, or Virtue's Last Escape, or Virtue's Last Reward.
Yeah.
Or something like Steins Gate, which is also a visual novel. I mean, I'm really enjoying that style of game, and it's because of Danganronpa that I keep wanting to play more. There's a couple more on Vita. There's like Mine Zero, I think is one. Anyway, it's opened my eyes to a new style of game that I wouldn't have tried otherwise. And, yeah, it's like the first time you played a first-person shooter and realized you really like that genre. I like the visual novel genre. So, I'm going to keep playing it. Now, I have the second game, but I haven't played it as much because I got it kind of later in the year, and there were other games that I wanted to play, and Fairy Fencer F has been sucking up all my other time. But, it also helped that there was a guy at work who I told to buy the game, and he did, and he beat the game before I did, so he kept wanting to talk about it, but I didn't want him to spoil the ending, and so I powered through the last, 3 cases, got the ending, and then we just sat at work for a good 45 minutes just gushing over the ending. And yeah. I don't know. Best game, it's one that I played this year, and it's stuck with me. I keep coming back to it. I love it. I love the art style. I love everything about it. And it's one that I can't get out of my head. Every time I think about a great game, that pops into my head. That was a great game. That was a lot of fun. I want to do that again. I want to play more of that. Oh, note though, do not watch the anime. They made an anime about it. Do not watch the anime because it wrecks the game. It basically tells the story, but it tells it in a much poorer fashion, very abridged. I think they even censored some of the deaths.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't too happy about. I did watch the first 2 episodes of the anime, and I didn't care for it. Play the game. And now that there's a PlayStation Vita TV as an option, you can play it on there, because it almost uses nothing of the, touchscreen or gyroscope controls, so you can play it that way. And I highly recommend it. So, best game of the year, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, without a doubt.
Cool.
And I thank you. I thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, I know I gotta get into that. It's just like I said.
And you own it, don't you?
Yes, I do own it. It's just like I said, Persona 3. I'm trying to focus on one game because I have this backlog that is it's just killing me whenever I think about it.
I have a backlog too.
And I'm just I gotta focus on one game. Persona 3, I know that's gonna take me 120 hours to beat. So I might as well just knock that out of the park first. But no, somewhere down the line, I'm gonna play that probably after Bayonetta.
As soon as you beat it, we have to talk.
Yeah.
We won't record it, because if anyone's listening to this podcast hasn't played it, that'd be unfair to you.
Yeah. But also kind of funny little side story on Danganronpa. So my brother came home from for Christmas break from college.
Yeah. And
he'd been here for 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, I was just on my computer, and all of a sudden he comes back behind me and he goes, "I didn't know you have this," and he's holding up my limited edition of the second game. And I go, "Oh, yeah, no, I bought that a while ago when it was announced." He goes, "Why didn't you tell me you had this?" "Oh, I forgot about it." So then basically, for the last 2 weeks that he was here, he played through it and he beat it. And yeah, he beat that in 3 days.
Yeah, they don't take. It doesn't take long to beat it once you know what you're doing.
Yeah, he practically said it's about as long as an Ace Attorney game in terms of its length.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison.
So I was just oh yeah, okay. And I guess I could probably just powerhouse through that in a couple of days. But I don't want to distract my focus from Persona 3 because I've finally gotten to a point where I'm really starting to get interested in it. Since they're finally getting into the backstory of the characters, that I don't want to distract myself from that, and then I'll forget everything,
Yep. Oh, honorable mention, Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, but... Alright, go ahead with your number 1.
Alright, my number 1...
Drum roll, silence.
Is Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Now, this was a game...
How is it that visual novels went out this year?
I don't know.
Yay for visual novels.
I don't know. But this was, along with Ace Attorney 5, when Ace Attorney 5 came out and it was digital only, I was like, shit. I don't want all these games to be digital only. And then, this one was finally announced that it was coming over here. I'm like, crap, that's going to be digital only too, because that's Capcom again. But then I'm like, but there's a little bit of hope because Level 5 is behind it. And I know that they really release their games, physically. So they announced that they were releasing it physically. Bam, instant, bought it. No hesitation whatsoever. And basically what it is it's a Professor Layton game and a Phoenix Wright game, kind of mishmashed together. When you're not in court cases as Phoenix Wright, you're basically playing a Professor Layton game. You're walking around, solving puzzles, collecting hint coins, learning the backstory of the mystery of the town, solving the mysteries of the town. And when you're playing Phoenix Wright, you're playing Phoenix Wright. You're using evidence that you found alongside playing as Professor Layton. You're using evidence that you've just kind of discovered throughout the court case. One interesting thing that they did add to Phoenix Wright, on top of them adding, God, what was it that they added for Layton? I don't know, it wasn't as great as Phoenix Wright half. But basically, they have this system, because if you played a Phoenix Wright game, whenever you're questioning a witness, there's only one of them. But with that game, you're questioning multiple witnesses. And that may not sound significant, because then you gotta, sift through 4 different testimonies at once. But the interesting thing about that is that the witnesses are listening to each other testify. So then, certain things that one witness would say would get another witness to kind of start thinking about something, so then you can kind of call them out on that. So, it kind of brings a little bit more to the whole, cross-examination thing, which is fantastic, because honestly I was kind of hoping they would have like some sort of good gimmick for that, instead of just like being nothing, because there really wasn't anything they brought up as in terms of a gimmick for that game. But no, like I said, it's Professor Layton and it's Phoenix Wright. The story is fantastic, as a Professor Layton game would be. The thing is that I don't know, this is just kind of me, but it felt like the Phoenix Wright segments were just kind of more or less tacked on. You're spending most of your time in the Professor Layton segments. Like it's more or less like a 60-40 type thing in terms of gameplay time. 60% being Professor Layton, 40% being in court cases. So, and because of that, the story is just, when they revealed the whole plot at the end, oh man, I could not see that coming from a mile away. And it was just great. And the thing is, because the Phoenix Wright segments feel kind of tacked on, they're not as good as an actual Ace Attorney game, and this is coming from someone who just finished Ace Attorney 5 and jumped straight into that game. So, I should know how this thing should run. And, it's the problems that I had with it is that you can only have I think it's 8 things of evidence, maybe 10, I don't know, something small. And the problem with the evidence is that the descriptions are extremely vague. In an Ace Attorney game, the descriptions for your evidence is extremely specific enough to whenever a witness says something about it, you can easily go, aha, that's contradictory. But when you get the game's main focus is around the witch hunts. You're hunting for witches who kill people, and you would get the magical staff that the witch used, and it goes, "This is the magical staff." Oh, okay. What else? And it's just extremely vague hints that you just honestly, you really have nothing to work off of. And most of the time in Phoenix Wright segments, I was just guessing, which is absolutely terrible in terms of, how that's written. Because for me, in an actual Ace Attorney game, there's what I would call a logical flow. And while the game doesn't outright tell you what to do and where to look, it puts you in the right mindset. It gives you little subtle hints to, put your mind into going, oh, so maybe I should check out that evidence, or these two pieces of evidence kind of sound like they would be, that they would work for this testimony. So then you would just kind of go and investigate that, and then you would find it. This game, no, it's more or less a guessing game, sadly. I don't like the way that they implement the hint coins in the Phoenix Wright section either. Like, if you played a Professor Layton game, hint coins just basically give you, pushes in the right direction on how to solve a puzzle. Hint coins in the Phoenix Wright segments blatantly tell you exactly what to do. Press this testimony, present this evidence. There you go. There's no hints, there's no guesswork, there's no nothing. And that's why I just feel like that segment is just kind of tacked on. Now, I know I'm saying a lot of bad stuff about the game. Mostly on the Phoenix Wright half. But but I'm just saying, like, the story, the characters, the plot twist at the end, just the overall, how everything is laid out, how the mysteries are solved, just how you proceed through the game is utterly fantastic. And
and the pluses outweigh the minuses.
Extremely. Like, it's one of those rare games that when I picked up, I would play for hours. And I normally can't play a game for more than an hour. And I could just keep playing that game just because of how interesting it was. I wanted to solve this mystery. I wanted to, keep moving through it. And, it just pulls you in so well that you just completely lose track of time. I've I've honestly, lost a day or two playing that game. Just because I wasn't focusing on the time, I was just focusing on the game. It's great. If you're a fan of either series, get the game. More so Professor Layton. But the Phoenix Wright sections are good. It's just, like I said, they're not as good as they should be in terms of a Phoenix Wright game. But
it's obvious most of the care was taken towards the Professor Layton parts.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was developed by Level 5, who developed Professor Layton. And then Capcom is the one who made, Phoenix Wright. So I think it was just more or less, the guys in Level 5 are just kind of like, okay, so how can we kind of transition into a court case here? And then just kind of go off of whatever Capcom wanted them to do. It's just not as put together as the Professor Layton parts, which was a bit of a downer because I love both games. So, but it's fantastic nonetheless.
Still a good matchup. Still a good...
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny little side note on that game is I remember when I went to Youmacon 2 years ago, which is a Japanese anime convention in Detroit, and the guy who voiced Professor Layton was doing a panel, and I just happened to wander in, like, in the middle of it. And at the end, somebody asked him whether or not Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney was ever going to come to the States. And he goes, well, I can't necessarily tell you because I'm under contractual obligation that I've done any work on the game. So there's nothing, and as he's saying this, he's nodding his head. There's nothing I can tell you about this game's release. He goes, I can't tell you that I've done work on it, as he's nodding his head, yes. So it was I thought that was really kind of cute, and I knew right then and there I was going to pick up the game, because I don't own any Professor Layton games, but my sister has all of the DS ones, and I've played through them, and they are a lot of fun. So, and I do have a couple Ace Attorney games. I do like those too. So, this was a a must-buy. Problem is, I haven't played it yet. So.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would probably be on my list.
Yep.
Alright, so just to recap, that's all our games for 2014. We'll go through our list real quick again. Number 5 for me was Hatsune Miku Project Diva F. Number 4 was Mario Kart 8 for Wii U. Number 3 was Freedom Planet on PC. Number 2, Fairy Fencer F on PlayStation 3. And number 1, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc on PlayStation Vita.
Alright, my list was Bravely Default for 3DS, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth for PC and PS Vita. Freedom Planet was number 3 for PC. Fantasy Life for 3DS, and Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright for 3DS.
Alright. And out of all those games, I own Bravely Default and have not played it, and Professor Layton vs. Attorney and have not played it. So I've got some catching up to do. 2015 is going to be a lot of, I need to play my backlog.
Uh-huh. No, that's pretty much me. I'm trying to start clearing my backlog now. Like, I'm not really buying games as much as I have. I'm more or less buying anime now. But
yeah, I'm cutting back on the games. The only game that I actually have on pre-order right now is, well, actually I have 3. Oh, that's probably a bad example. Well, I have the Legend of Zelda games on pre-order. I have the Firefly Diary for PlayStation Vita off NIS America's website. And I have Criminal Girls, is it called?
Yep.
On pre-order with them as well. So,
as do I. I have all 3 on pre-order as well.
Yeah. So, NIS America, by the way, anybody who's interested in a PlayStation Vita, look at NIS America's website because, my God, they are putting out anything worth owning on that system.
Like, pretty much most of my games on the Vita are from NIS America.
Yeah, I think more than half of what I own is from NIS America. And that's really surprising. Because I'm generally not that kind of person to just like special order stuff. But the PlayStation Vita is the kind of system where you have to go online and you have to special order because it just doesn't have the retail presence that the 3DS or any of the other major systems do.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, the store I work for, I think we still have the launch library on the shelf, and that's about it.
That was where I bought Gravity Rush for like $10.
Yeah. And I think the newest game we have is like Freedom War.
Yeah.
Which
if I have played Freedom War more, I would have probably put it on this list.
Yes, I am enjoying Freedom War on Vita as well, but I haven't put enough time into it to consider myself to think that I could give a good
opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on it yet because I haven't played it as much as I'd like to. Alright, so yeah, so if you get a PlayStation Vita, you gotta do your research, you gotta go looking, and you gotta go online.
There's plenty of good games. I mean, I have, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the 2 I have on pre-order, 11, 12. That's, 12 good games for the PS Vita. So
yeah,
you gotta go looking around, but there is, more than just, what you would see in retail.
Yeah, if you're into RPGs, there's a handful of really good RPGs on the Vita. Including Persona 4 Golden.
Yes.
If anyone's interested in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know Phoenix is, and he's begging me to play it. Okay, but only until you play Danganronpa.
That's not fair.
I know, but that's how we do it. That's how it gets done. Alright, well, anyway, so we're not going to do our what we've been playing recently because that's basically what we just talked about. So, that's what we've been playing all year. That's a very broad recently. Anyway, so I guess that wraps this episode up. For those of you paying attention to last episode and wanted to know what the audio was from the end of the last episode, That was the Christmas music from Blue Stinger on the Sega Dreamcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, getting obscure. I thought it was fitting given the holiday season, so if you guys recognize that, consider yourselves gamers. Good for you. No, but honestly, Blue Stinger is a really solid game. It's not a great game, but it is a bit of fun on the Dreamcast. So if you do end up picking one up, that's the game I would recommend. It's generally pretty cheap. You can get it for about like $5 or $10. Or at least you could a couple years ago. I don't know what the heck's happening to game prices recently, but I remember it being cheap, and it was fun. Anyway, so I guess this wraps this episode up. Yeah. So, as always, I'm your host, Marauder.
I'm Phoenix923.
And we'll catch you guys on the next bonus stage.
Danganronpa.